Hello, friends. Welcome back. And thank you for joining me today for another near-death experience interview today with Greg Thompson. Greg Thompson has had two near-death experiences. He's had a lot more spiritual experiences, which we may get to at some point in the future. But in this interview, we're going to cover two of his near-death experiences. And today, he's going to share with us his first near-death experience and then the process of events that led up to his second experience, which he goes into some detail on. But I want to encourage you to come back tomorrow for part 2 because you are not going to want to miss his second near-death experience. It is absolutely incredible. So let me give you a little bit of background on Greg. He is a retired IBM software engineer who lives with spirit guides daily. They help him through rough times and rejoice with him when life is good. He has had several near-death experiences and one shared death experience, and he is the Portland, Oregon chapter group leader of IANS, or International Association for Near-Death Studies. Greg has written a book titled Living with My Spirit Guides, which chronicles his experiences, and that, along with his website, livingwithmyspiritguides.com, will be linked in the description. Thank you so much for joining me, Greg.
Thank you, Melissa. Pleasure to be here.
Likewise.
I'm going to talk about two NDEs. The first one is 1986. I was, as mentioned, a software engineer. I had just gotten promoted to be the technical advisor or director for the MBS operating systems at US West, which was a phone company. MBS operating systems run mainframe computers. So I was a technical director, so I didn't have to deal with the management side. I just dealt with the technical side. And it was fun. I'd had the job for about 2 weeks. And after that, one of my colleagues got promoted to my old job, and he wanted to celebrate it. And it was on a Thursday that was announced. And he said, let's all go out for a drink after work. And he was buying. And so I thought, well, I've got some things I'm supposed to be doing. That Saturday, I was supposed to fly out to Philadelphia to be with a bunch of other IBM accounts, and we were writing a white paper to give to IBM, and I wasn't ready for it yet. So I was planning to take Friday off and work on a Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday before I flew out. So this is going to put a crimp in it. So I said, I'm not going to be able to do that. I praised him for taking the job, and it was quite a promotion, quite frankly. And he was excited about it. And he said, well, I really want you to come to the party tonight after work. And I said, well, you know what? I really have other things I have to do. He said, well, I'll save a table for you. I said, okay, fine. So I headed on home. I decided I was not going to go to that party. And I'd been home for about an hour working on the paperwork I had to do. And I got a call from another colleague who said, well, we're off the party. Where are you? And knowing, of course, back in those days, if you answer the phone, well, you know where you are. So I said, well, I just can't go. I got too much to do. And he said, no, you don't understand. You're his boss now. I said, well, only on the technical side. He said, yeah, but you're his boss. If you don't show up, that's not good news. You need to come here and praise him and say it to a bunch of people. There's like 30 people here. You need to be here to let a larger audience know that you really like the fact that he got the job. And so he's making me feel guilty. So I kind of go, okay, fine. So I decide I'm going to go. I get in the car and I start to drive there, and my spirit guides, they put pressure on my shoulders, push me down. To that, what that means is I'm in mortal danger. And I thought, well, all I'm doing is going to the bar, have one drink, and leave. That's okay. So I got there, and sure enough, there was like 25, 30 people. And this bar, another reason I didn't want to go is this bar is known for pushing drinks. I mean, really big time. By the time I got there, the party had been going for about 2 hours. There was a seat sitting there for me at the table, and there were 5 drinks sitting there waiting for me. Now I'm kind of going, this is bad news. This is bad news. And the pressure was on the shoulders again. I'm going, yeah, I get it. So I waited for a few minutes, and there was a lull. So I stood up and I gave a speech about Leon, the guy that had just gotten promoted. And he was happy about it and such. And I sat down. I thought, well, I'll just finish this one drink. I'll just finish this one drink, and I'll just sneak out. Well, I did. And I got up, started to leave, and Leon saw me, and he said, where are you going? I said, well, I got to go back home. I got some work to do. He said, no, no, no. And he listed off a couple of people who hadn't showed up yet. They have to be here. They have to be here before you can go. And I should have just said no, but I didn't. I sat down. And the next thing I know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and the bars are closing. And believe it or not, there was 5 drinks sitting in front of me. The way they did it was that if anybody of the 25, 30 people that were there needed a new drink, everybody else got another drink too. Rounds for the house, rounds for the house. Somehow I managed to keep up, evidently. But as soon as I stood up, I realized I was in trouble. I was drunk. I had to drive home. And I'm going, no, this is not a good idea. They hadn't quite closed the bar yet. I said, I'll have somebody there call me a cab and I'll get it home that way. And then it dawned on me, no, wait a minute. I have the carpool tomorrow morning and it's too late to start calling people to say, can I get somebody else to drive? So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to drive home. So I get in the car and I get onto the freeway, 405 northbound. I have to go about a mile and then I take the exit that takes me on the 520 eastbound. I'd be home in 10 minutes. No big deal. So I take the 405, I take the exit to get on 520. It is a road that goes kind of down and swerves around a little bit. So I'm taking the corner, going around it. And the next thing I know, the car is out of control and it's rolling and moving around. And then I'm knocked out. When I come to, I kind of go, what happened? Where am I? The car's not moving. It's upright, but it's not moving. The engine's running. The lights are on. I look around at the window, front windshield, and I'm looking, something's wrong with the windshield. And I feel blurred vision, first of all. I look at it kind of going, there's something really wrong. And I turned off the engine, left the lights on because I noticed I was on 520. So I'm on the road here, but I'm not moving. What's going on? I pushed the door open because it wouldn't open normal. So I really pushed it hard. I got the driver's side open, got out of the car and took a look at it. And I knew why it took so long to get the door open. The top of the roof was smashed down and every single window in the car was missing. They were all broken off. The sides of the vehicle looked like it had been through hell. Tires were flat. This car wasn't going anywhere. I'm going, oh, great. Now what do I do? Well, I had help. The state police drove by going the other direction. There was a meridian between the two lanes. And so he turned on his searchlight and looked at me and said, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm okay. And he said, is there anybody else there? And I said, no, I'm by myself. He said, good, good. And he said, I'll be right there. And he drove down, did a U-turn, came back. There was interest in why I had that accident. But I had to go to the hospital because I was bleeding. My face was bleeding. Got there. The doctor took care of that. It turned out it was just a cut over the eyebrow and bleeding like crazy. And of course, any kind of injury on the head causes a lot of blood. And I also had a bump on the top of the head that was, oh gosh, I know about a 1/4 inch high. The doctor said he was surprised. He said, you're having a lucky night. I'm going, I am. He said, yeah, well, first of all, you won't have any scars from the face because it was on the eyebrow. And secondly, the bump on your head, for some reason, didn't cause any major damage. He said, you're very lucky there. And I said, okay, fine. So anyway, after filling out paperwork and all that kind of stuff, I ended up at home. And needless to say, Friday, I decided to take the day off. I had no car and I was still hungover. And so then I canceled the trip I was going to take to Philadelphia the next day for a meeting with a bunch of IBMers. Friday night, I started feeling a little bit better. I basically slept pretty much Friday. When I went to bed Friday night, I started thinking about what happened, what really happened. I started going back through the dream of it was almost like a dream state. And I realized that after the car had stopped moving, yeah, I was knocked out. I wasn't there. I remember going up in a dark gray void, moving upward, and there were 2 spirits floating around me. They were kind of like smoke, gray smoke, if you will, just and about a couple feet long. And one of them, when it got around me, would make a face and look at me and say, why are you here? And then keep on going around. The other one didn't say anything. I kept moving up and I'm feeling pretty bad. I mean, I just done something really stupid. As I was going up, it started getting lighter and lighter. The dark gray became a light gray and slowly it was getting whiter and whiter. And I became aware above me of some intelligence, and it was kind and loving. The love that was being given to me went right through my soul and made me warm. It felt so, so good. except for the fact that I felt guilty because I had just done something stupid, driving and then while drunk. And slowly but surely kept moving up and moving up. And I was being welcomed by whatever it was above me. I don't like to call it God or spirit or anything. I've never been able to figure out a name for it, but you get the idea of what I'm talking about. And it was welcoming me, loving me, caring for me. And as I got closer and it's getting pretty much just white around me, and I'm still feeling guilty as heck. I wasn't looking up. I was so ashamed I couldn't look up. And all of a sudden there was this consternation of some sort. And then the word no, and I was thrown back into my body. It wasn't time to go. I wasn't supposed to be there. Then I had going through my mind, well, what did I do just before that? Why did the car not make it around that exit corner? And so I started thinking back on what happened step by step as I took that corner. And I remember taking the exit, turning and starting to go down the curve to get to the 520. And then it dawned on me, I took my hands off the wheel. I tried to commit suicide. I had no prior thought about doing that. I never thought about it, never wanted to do that, but enough alcohol, I guess, and the pressure of trying to get this paperwork done, having just gotten a new job and trying to figure it out, it was all just too much, evidently. Now, so not excuses, it's just facts. I had to live with that for quite a while. Life got better though, and it was kind of a quick thing, but it took a long time for me to start feeling better. And thank God I did have spirit guides that helped. The other NDE is much, much more powerful. It in fact changed me. That was in 2013, quite a few years later. And during that period of time, I had been promoted several times, and I was now making a pretty damn good salary. And I was working 60 to 70 hour weeks, not because I had to, but because I enjoyed it. I was writing code. So I was testing code and I was writing the code to make it, try to break it before it goes to the customer. And so that was keeping me very busy. And somewhere in 2012, I started feeling not too good. We went to San Francisco in September. Nancy and I did. Nancy's my significant other. She and one of her coworkers were going to a convention. And so I went along with them, the idea of, hey, we get to go to San Francisco. And so while there, I found that I was having trouble walking a block down the street. Now, there actually are hills, of course, in San Francisco, but there are also flat areas. And so walking on a flat area, especially on one street, I don't remember the street number, there's a lot of art galleries. And so we're wandering into those to just look around. I could walk about a half a block and I was out of air, out of breath. I just couldn't do it. Nancy's coworker also was having trouble. She had a hip problem, so she couldn't walk for more than about a half block. So we were laughing because we could only walk about a half block. And Nancy, of course, would be 3 or 4 blocks down the street if she could. Elizabeth suggested that I go see her doctor because there was obviously something wrong. And so I agreed to do that. And when I got back home, made an appointment for the doctor, and it took like 2 months to get in to see him because I was a new patient. I finally got in to see him. He took an x-ray of my lungs, and he brought it out and showed it to me. He said, "See, look at that." I'm going, "Okay, I don't know what I'm looking at." He goes, "Oh, yeah, okay." So he said, "One moment." And he came back with another x-ray of another patient. He said, "Ignore the name on the corner of the x-ray. Legally, I'm not supposed to show this to you, but since it's actually a healthy lung, I don't think the woman would mind." And so she showed it next to me, side by side, the two. Hers lung were white. Mine were black. And I said, "I get the impression that that's not a good idea, that's black." And he goes, "Oh, no, that's not good at all." And I said, "Well, what's going on?" He said, "That's liquid. Your lungs are full of liquid. It's either two things that's gone wrong on your body. One is the heart, or the other is your thyroid. The thyroid controls the liquids in your body. And if your heart is not producing enough blood through the body, the thyroid doesn't understand the difference between the different types of liquids. It just starts storing liquid in order to help. And so it did it on the feet first, it does it on the legs next, and then it goes to the lungs. And he said, "Your lungs are 80% full of liquid." So we're going to give you some medications to take care of that problem, diuretic. He said, "But now we need to find out what the cause is." He says, "I doubt if it's the thyroid." He said, "I'm not seeing, and there'd be other indications that he would be seeing if it were a thyroid problem." So he said, "I think it's a heart problem. So I'm going to send you to a cardiologist." So I go to see the cardiologist, and he confirms, yes, it's a heart problem. The left ventricular chamber of my heart, which is the chamber that pushes the blood out into the body, is running at 30% normal. He said, we need to do something about that right now. I said, okay, fine. You have one problem. Why not have more? Get them all at the same time. Take care of them all at the same time. That all happened in December of 2012. 13 January, I got a blister on my right foot. It was expected by me because I had gotten some new moccasins, and the leather would cause blisters. And so I wasn't too worried about it. I put a bandage on it and let it sit. And a couple of weeks later, I took the bandage off and it was orange pus underneath it. That's not what I was expecting. So I made an appointment to see the doctor. February comes and he's taking a look at it and he says, why did you tell me this immediately? He started bawling me out. Now he was about 6 inches shorter than me. I'm at that time was about 6'2", and he was a very calm, quiet person, but he was in my face and he was yelling at me. You're a diabetic. You're a diabetic. You're a diabetic. So I just go, okay, great, just great. I said, I thought I was nearly a diabetic. So no, you're a diabetic. He said, we need to take care of this right now, immediately, today. I said, okay. He says, you need to go to the hospital now. I said, okay. And he said, wait. No, that won't work. You need to go to ER. You need to go to ER right now. I said, okay. And he goes, wait, no, that won't work either. I'm going, okay, what's the problem here? And he goes, well, we need to get you there now. And I'm going, well, ER is about as fast as we can do, right? He goes, no. He says, I'm going to make an appointment for you in ER, an appointment in ER. Now, I said, how do you do that? He says, I'm a doctor. I can do that. Okay. So he makes an appointment. He said, it's going to take a couple of hours probably before we can get you in. I'll give you a call when it's ready. So Nancy and I went out and got something to eat. And Nancy, of course, terrified. She said, what's going on? I said, I don't know. I mean, the heart and now the foot. The end result of that was I needed to have 3 surgeries in 10 days on my right foot. It was a viral infection. Viral infections can't be managed by medication. They can be stopped from getting worse by giving you some shots of antibiotics. But by that point in time, he took a look at the doctor who took a look at it, was going to do the surgery. He said, yeah, it's eating your foot. I said, eating it. He goes, yes. I said, what do you mean by eating? He says, it's actually eating the bone and it's eating the tendon on the bottom of your foot. And we need to get in there immediately and do something about it, or you could lose your foot. And I go, right, all for that. So I went to the hospital, had 3 surgeries in 10 days, and I couldn't walk on my right foot anymore. It just didn't work the same as it used to. That tendon being gone, major difference in how I was able to handle it. The hospital said, well, you have to leave now. And I'm going, how do I do that? I can't walk. And I've got antibiotics being given to me through my arm all day, all night. And they said, well, we'll have to work something out. Maybe you can do it from home. I said, well, if I understand correctly, I have to have a nurse twice a day checking the condition. They said, yeah, that probably won't work either. So they suggested maybe going to a rehabilitation location. And they had a list of about 20 to do. And so Nancy, bless her heart, took a day off from work and spent the whole day visiting rehab centers. She said it was rather quick in some cases. She said some of them I'd walk in the door, it smelled so bad I turned around and walked right back out. And she said, and some of them I walk into, they didn't smell, but they had people sitting in wheelchairs in the hallways and they were being ignored. They were trying to get, when somebody was walking by, the caretaker, they were trying to get their attention. The caretaker said, well, I'm too busy. And they leave them. And she said, that's not a place we want you to go. So she finally found a place that seemed to be more acceptable, and I was sent there. I was there for about 5 days, and I was learning how to walk. They gave me a walker initially, and of course they want you upright, and they want you moving a lot. Same thing with the hospitals; they want you moving around a lot, staying upright. So I was doing that, and they were starting to think about crutches. And that wasn't working too well. Like I said, after about 5 days, it had become pretty much a routine, what I did every day. One morning, had breakfast. And I think it was scrambled eggs, bacon, and fruit. And the nurse came in, like she always did every morning. And she went over to the computer, which was attached to the wall. And she had her back to me, and she was logging into it. Since I was a diabetic, they were giving me insulin, and she had to do all this stuff related to that. I finished my breakfast. And I was just lying there waiting for her. And I felt a little disruption in my stomach a little bit. I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And then the next time it was, feel like I'm going to throw up. I thought, no, that doesn't make sense. I mean, I had pretty good breakfast. It wasn't food poisoning or anything like that. What's going on? Did it again, only stronger. And that time I said, I think I'm going to throw up. And so I told the nurse that. She had her back up to me. She was still typing, I'll be there in a minute. I'm going, okay. And finally, I just threw up. I threw up over me and the bed, the floor, the breakfast tray, which was a little bit further away. I had really good aim. And then I started dry heaving. And by that point in time, she had pushed a button someplace, and these two large men, football players, something, sumo wrestlers, I don't know. They came in and they picked me up like I weighed nothing and wrapped me up, put me in a chair, and then cleaned up the whole place. I mean, just it was all cleaned and put me back. And I think that all happened like in 5 minutes. A little while later, the nurse came back in again. This time she had a teaspoon of water and a bag. And she brought it over to me and she said, I want you to drink this water. And I said, I'll throw it up. She said, that's the idea. I want you to throw it up. Okay. And you're going to spit it into this bag. Okay. Not sure I have enough spit to do that, but okay. And sure, that's what happened. So she got her sample, she took it and left. I'm pretty tired. I'm not feeling like doing anything. A couple of hours went by, and finally she came back and she told me that the room was now under quarantine. No one's allowed to come in except nurses, doctors, and technicians. No family, no friends are allowed to come in. And she said, every 2 hours, somebody will be coming in to check to see how you're doing, day and night. And you have to respond, even if it's required, if it's just a grunt. And I said, well, what's going on? She said, well, you'll get the information soon. The doctor will be by to tell you. She said, but you have the norovirus. I'd heard about the norovirus. In 2012, there was an epidemic across the United States. It was national news for quite some time. It was hitting rest homes and nursing homes and such, and it was killing them. And I'm thinking, New York, oh, great. Now I got something that could die from. They said the doctor would come in to talk to me. Well, he did. It took him 3 or 4 hours, but he showed up. His specialty was norovirus and pneumonia. And he said, they're kissing cousins. One or the other of them is the primary cause of death for humans. I said, really? She said, yeah. Quite frankly, it's there all the time. It's around us all the time, but we're all native of this planet. We have an automatic immune system. And I said, so what do we do now? He says, well, we wait. Wait? There's no medications or anything for that? He said, well, there's some, but for what we're talking about here, no, it would not work. And I said, okay. And he said, is there any other questions? I said, yeah. What are my chances? He thought about it for a minute or two and said, well, about 40%. And he started to leave. I said, well, wait a minute. 40% of chance of dying or 40% chance of living? And he said, oh, about a 40% chance of living. I said, well, that's close to 50. I guess I can live with that. And I just made a pun, but he didn't get that. And he said, if you're feeling like you're going to live and continue, your chances are higher than the percentages that I just gave you. I said, I think I want to live. Good attitude. Keep it up. And he left. So there I am. Well, I don't have to get up and do walks anymore. Nothing. Occasionally somebody would show up to check their antibiotics. Do I have enough or not? Now I don't get food anymore. I get a nutritional supplement given to me through a needle. So now I have 2 needles in my right arm, and that's about it. No checkups for anything to see. And I'm on death watch every 2 hours. I don't know what it would feel like for you, but for me, I felt like I've been condemned, forgotten. They didn't even come in to bother to turn on the lights in the room at night, when it gets dusk. And we're talking February. In the Northwest, it's cold and dark by 4:30, no contact with humans. I didn't even have a button to push a button anywhere. I called my manager, told him what was going on. That was fantastic. His response immediately, I want you to get well. He said, don't worry about work. You will still be here when you get here. When you get back, no problem. All your medical, I checked, is covered. Everything. You won't have to pay a penny on it. And he says, your health is the most important thing to IBM right now. Just get well. Concentrate on being well. The day after, I noticed that I couldn't move my toes. I thought, well, that's a little odd. Maybe it's, they're just falling asleep because I'm lying in bed all day. The next thing was my feet didn't move. Then it was my legs. Then it was my fingertips. Then my fingers. Then my hands, my arms, my back, torso. I couldn't move in the bed. 5 days of that. Slowly, the body is dying. I didn't want to die. What's going on here? Where's that thing? What that doctor said, you should be okay if you're thinking of good thoughts. At the end of the fifth day, she came in the door. Mr. Thompson, how are you doing? Mr. Thompson, how are you doing? My response was a grunt. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. And she left. She never came back. That was when I realized I am dying, a slow death, but I'm dying. I started thinking about, well, what would friends think if I were dead? How would they react? I started with coworkers. My coworkers were in New York. I'm in Oregon. Well, they probably do what I did when we had a person die. They took a collection and we'd sign the card, and the company would pay for flowers. What about close friends? I have some close friends. I mean, ones I've known since high school and college. What are they going to do? Well, they all live pretty much on the West Coast. Yeah. They would show up probably at some point in time and have some sort of remembrance and a party. Hopefully have a good time. Yeah, that's okay. What about loved ones? How are you going to handle loved ones? Nancy's folks were very dear to me. I thought of them as my parents. They were just fantastic people. Don, he would take it pretty hard, but he'd be okay. Mary, Nancy's mother, she was the worry wart. She would be worried mostly about Nancy. At that point in time, she did not believe in anything after you die. She has reason to stay here. She'll stay. She'll be okay. She'll manage. Well, that's it. The room got dark, completely silent. And I thought to myself, I give up.